Welcome back to Current Density with Jayden, where we explore the forces shaping our world today. I'm Charlie, and in this episode, we are diving into the fascinating world of transportation. We all rely on transportation every day, whether it's commuting to work, taking a bus, or dreaming about futuristic high-speed trains. But have you ever thought about what goes into designing efficient and sustainable transport system? Today, I'm joined by Jayden, someone with a deep passion for urban design and a vision for the future of public transportation and roads. We'll be discussing everything from smart city planning to the role of technology in transforming the way we move. So, buckle up and get ready for the insightful conversation about the future of transportation. All right, Jayden, before we dive into today's topic, how's your day been so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. The usual school, homework, and now this podcast. I've been looking really forward to it since this is a topic that I'm really excited about.
That's great. Yeah, I was excited for this one too. So transportation is such a huge part of our lives, but we don't always stop to think about how it all works.
Oh yeah, exactly. People just use roads and they go on buses, and usually they don't really think about what's going behind the scenes and what's the design that underlies the structures.
Right. And since you are so passionate about this, so I have to ask, when you were traveling, do you ever find yourself analyzing the transportation system instead of just enjoying the ride?
Well, for me, enjoying the ride is sort of analyzing the transportation system. Yeah. If I visit a new city, I always pay attention to how their system works, right? Is it efficient? Is it easy to navigate? How do people move around? So it's kind of like a normal thing I do now.
Okay, that's really interesting. So I bet you have a mental list of the best and worst designed transport system.
Yeah, so most of the cities that I went to had pretty solid systems, but you know there are some cities who do certain things better than others.
So I definitely want to hear more about that. All right, let's get into what makes a great transportation system. So Jayden, first question, what inspired your passion for designing public transportation and road system?
Yeah, so I guess my passion for like designing transportation systems began from recognizing how deeply mobility shapes communities. Right, growing up, I was really fascinated by actually when I was really young, I used to stare at like the wheels of buses all the time. My mom used to tell me, and I would just stare at them, and then sometimes I would like go for rides on the buses from end to end and something like that.
Okay.
Well, and as I grew older, I noticed that in some communities, the transportation network really made it thrive, and at others, it really made things inefficient and not very effective. So the realization that thoughtful design could significantly affect the quality of daily life, I think that's what inspires me.
That's such a thoughtful perspective. It's true how something as simple as a bus stop or well-placed train station can completely change how connected people feel to their communities. It's amazing how much design affects our daily lives without us even realizing. So, how do you think a well-designed transportation system can improve people's daily lives?
Oh yeah, so a well-designed system can significantly enhance the daily life by providing a efficient, reliable, and accessible means of travel time, right? So if you live in some place with a really efficient and well-designed transportation system, it can relieve stress and maybe even save you time. It connects residential areas with the more downtown workplace area, and then it also connects people to schools and other recreational facilities, and if people move around the city more efficiently, they tend to move around a lot, right? So it has implications to the social and economic side of the operation as well. By ensuring safety and reducing congestion on the roads, it minimizes the risk of accidents, and it can be an affordable travel option, particularly benefiting those without access to private vehicles. Ultimately, a well-designed system can enhance quality of life by freeing up time, reducing overall costs, and improving the well-being of people.
Absolutely. So when transportation is reliable, everything feels easier. So whether it is getting to school on time or just meeting friends, it really frees people up to focus on what matters rather than worrying about how they'll get there. So personally, I commute through Highway 1 every day. It's so stressful. So I decided to move finally, eventually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm going to move around downtown area to reduce my commute time. So it's every morning, I stuck on the highway like over an hour. So it's not efficient at all. So what city do you think has the best public transportation system, and what makes it so effective?
So a lot of people and sources that I looked at say that Tokyo arguably has the best public transportation system globally. I think on like social media and stuff, people always say that like Japanese people are like so clean and like polite and that kind of stuff. Their extensive network coverage and user-friendly experiences. So they have a lot of high-speed rails, subways, buses, and train operations. It's like really precise. Like people always say that Japanese like trains and subways never come late, right? And if they do come late, like everyone gets out and sincerely apologizes, and all of that stuff happens. Notably, Tokyo's transportation apps provide like real-time data on delays and like crowdedness as well. And that increases, of course, your convenience. And it makes the city really accessible for like the millions of people who use the system daily. Now, personally, I haven't been to Tokyo, but I lived many years in Seoul, the capital of South Korea, right? South Korea, I think, has a really similar structure to this. There's a lot of great real-time technology that maybe you won't find in, Canada or the US. It's really, really precise. And I remember that I really didn't have to look on the app and go out at a very specific time in order to catch a specific bus. Because if I just go to the stop outside my apartment, a bus would usually come around in like 5 minutes or so. So I think that was a really convenient way. Obviously, countries like Japan or South Korea, they have relatively less land to deal with than huge countries like the United States of America, but they also have a really dense population, and especially the city centers. If you look at the Korean subway map, it is really, really insane, right?
It's very complicated.
Very, very complicated.
And we have, how many lines do we have? 9?
No, that's just the numbered lines.
We have more.
We have more, yeah. Maybe I'll get back to that later.
Okay. Wow. Like a Bundangson.
Yeah,
right.
Bundang line. There's the new Bundang line, Shimdangson.
New Bundang line. Okay.
There's a whole lot of.
Oh my god! Okay, I didn't know that. Because when I was in Korea, I used to use only line number 2.
Line number 2.
Yeah, all the time.
That was like one of the more older lines.
Yeah.
The circulation.
So it's because it goes to Gangnam as well.
Yes.
From my place. My place is around Seoul University. So yeah, it goes to and from by taking that subway line 2.
Yeah, in Seoul alone, there's 23 subway lines.
23?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it starts from like it goes all over Seoul. It extends into neighboring cities. There's like a airport express train,
All right.
and a lot of really convenient options. Seoul is, I said, it's like really densely populated, so a lot of people say that driving in Seoul can be really stressful, and like even people who drive in like urban cities in U.S. and Canada, they say that they feel like too stressed to drive in Seoul. So I rarely like took a ride in a car, except for when we're like traveling to other cities. Normally, like all of our like traveling within the city could be done in public transit fairly easily.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's what's so great about.
So does it include Chuncheonsan or Cheonansan?
Yes, I believe there's something called the Gyeongchun.
Oh yeah, that one.
That goes to Chuncheon. I think that is part of the Seoul network.
Oh my god.
So it spans all over the place.
Okay, okay. So my next question. Tokyo and Seoul definitely just set the standard, and then it is impressive how everything runs on time and fits seamlessly into people's routine. But what are the biggest challenges in designing roads and public transport for a growing city?
So if you're trying to build a transportation network, one of the greatest challenges you might encounter is balancing the immediate needs that you see with some of the long-term sustainability plans. So rapid urban expansion often outpaces infrastructure development, resulting in congestion and inadequate public transport coverage. For example, rapidly growing megacities like Lagos face chronic traffic jams due to urban sprawl and insufficient transit infrastructure. Another challenge would be aligning with various stakeholders. You need to deal with the governments, you need to speak to local communities, you need to negotiate everything, right? New bus lines and like subway lines, they don't like get developed very easily. You need to look at the demand and design that accordingly, because ultimately you're not trying to lose money. You're trying to provide your service to as many people as possible. So if you're not careful, you could end up missing some groups out and losing money on operation costs. So it's really a delicate balance. And usually, right, in South Korea and here in Canada as well, public transport doesn't get very good funding, right? It's on the news like all the time. We're not getting enough funding. So it is a tight budget to balance.
That balance between short-term needs and long-term vision is too tricky. So I imagine there is always pressure to fix traffic problems quickly, but those fast solutions don't always work in the long run. It must be difficult to convince people to invest in systems that take decades to pay off. So how do you balance efficiency and environmental sustainability in transportation design?
So balancing those two requires integrating like multimodal transportation systems that prioritize renewable energy and low emission vehicles. For example, Amsterdam's emphasis on bicycles, right? Many European cities have this like really bicycle centric road layouts and systems. And they also prioritize electric powered trams. So those are types of environmentally friendly transportation that you can implement. Here in Vancouver, there's electric trolleys, right? It's not a new system, but they kept it on the system because, it runs on electricity, there's no emissions. And in Toronto, there's electric trams as well. I think a lot of cities had trams in the past and they didn't demolish them and they kept it running. So that's a plus on sustainability. And also designing compact walkable neighborhoods that decrease the need for long commutes is another crucial strategy for the environment. So you want to reduce your dependency on cars and that also enhances overall livability as well.
So speaking of bicycle, have you thought about a commute by, bicycle?
For me, so for me that would be impractical, just because I live in a place where I live on the bottom, and then right behind me is like a huge mountain. Sort of thing, right? Uphill. The school is quite uphill.
Okay.
Biking wouldn't make much sense to me. I usually take a short bus ride up the mountain. Yeah.
Okay.
But for many cities, have a pretty flat landscape. When I was living in Michigan, of course it was flat. It was like mostly farmlands, but yeah. And you could definitely go on a bicycle if you're traveling, short distances. And
I know. I could see around the city, downtown of Vancouver, and many people ride a, motor scooter,
electric scooters.
Electric scooters,
actually,
yes. Yeah. So because Vancouver is also uphill and downhill, I think.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to ride a bicycle.
Yeah. I don't know where the trend started, but electric scooters, especially public electric scooters, most people I've seen riding those, I think they bought it themselves. They're privately owned. But if you see Seoul, South Korea, a couple of years ago, they were booming. You could see public electric scooters everywhere in the city.
Does it?
Yeah.
Operated? Are those operated by Seoul City?
No, they're private companies. I believe.
Private company. Okay.
Yeah, so Seoul City has something called Dareungi, which is
bicycle, right?
They had that bicycle sharing system, but they're not electric, right? And I guess people wanted a more convenient and quick option. So what you could do is you could download the company's app on your phone, and you scan the code on the scooter, and then you're free to ride it.
Oh wow!
And then they charge you based on how far you go and something like that. So those were really, really you could see them on every corner, literally, if you're living close to the city center. So I don't know if they have that many anymore. I guess, but a company called Lime, if you heard of Lime, they're based in California. They have a similar business strategy of renting out electric scooters and electric bikes as well. They tried to extend their business to Korea, but they got outpaced by the Korean companies.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think they withdrew their business a couple of years ago.
Interesting. That's such a forward-thinking approach. It's inspiring to see cities like Amsterdam providing a sustainability and convenience can go hand in hand. So if more cities follow the model, I think people would be much more willing to leave their cars at home. What role model do emerging technologies like autonomous vehicles and smart traffic system play in a future of urban transportation?
Yeah, so these new technologies like autonomous cars and these management systems, they offer immense potential to revolutionize urban mobility. So when I was visiting San Francisco, I saw these Waymo cars everywhere in the downtown area. I should have took a ride in one of those, but unfortunately my hotel was outside the Waymo zone. So you can't ride them everywhere, right? They have a restricted area where you can take Waymo, and that was just in the downtown area. So, and I saw them driving around it was ordinary life, right? It's kind of still new to me. There's no driver, but it's there's cameras spinning, and then it's driving around in its own just fine. And the road is really busy. There's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of buses, there's a lot of people, cars trying to shove their way in. But I think by the looks of it, it handles those situations pretty well. It can actually, autonomous vehicles recently can, they can reduce human error, and they can lower accident rates significantly.
Wow.
I believe there's 5 stages of autonomous vehicles. Stage 5 is that it can basically operate itself without any human input at all. That's like the highest stage. And then I think Tesla's like without the full self-driving would be like at a level 2, I believe. You still need a human at the wheel to take control, but it's doing more than cruise control, but you still need a human. That's like level 2, I think.
Okay.
And then recently, Volvo and those companies are going at like level 3 or 4 and that kind of stuff. So, additionally, you have intelligent traffic systems. I think here is where AI could come in like really, really handy, right? It used to be that in Vancouver, if you look at the downtown traffic signals, the signals always keep the same pattern. So if you have a pedestrian signal, say the pedestrian signal runs for 10 seconds, and then it goes to 0. At that exact same moment, the traffic lights for the cars also switch. And then it's a really, really structured cycle.
And it is very predictable.
Yeah, very predictable. And when I go to like West Vancouver or Port Moody, I see some more intelligent systems. It depends on like, I think because not many cars go through every single street, you kind of have to implement some intelligent system so you're not wasting time for everybody. So if they have these like circles on the roads, right?
Roundabout?
Not the roundabouts. In the lanes, you can see circular markings. Those are actually copper wires, I believe. So it's there because the car's bottom is like metal. It can detect if a car is in the lane or not. So, for example, if there's no cars in the left turn lane, then the signal will not initiate the left turn signal.
Okay.
And if there's no cars on a street, they might give longer time for the other street to keep traffic flowing. And I think with the terrific advances in AI technology, we can take input from street cameras and then see where like traffic is like most backed up, and then adjust the signal lengths and cycles to do that accordingly. I think Lionsgate Bridge, right? That's like I think an infamous bridge for people who drive across it on a regular basis. So for those of you who don't know, it's a really famous bridge in Vancouver. The only unfortunate fact is that it has 3 lanes. So 3 lanes. Whoever designed it, I don't know why they decided to do it 3 lanes. Because it's 3 lanes, they have to implement a whole traffic management system. So if traffic coming out of downtown is like really high, they open up 2 lanes in that direction. If the traffic coming into downtown is really backed up, they open the middle lane to the other direction.
Okay.
And now suddenly you have these signs everywhere that show like which lane is drivable and which lane is not.
So it's O and X, right?
X and I think
down
there's
arrow?
Down arrow.
Yeah.
Indications. And if there's actually a website for that where you can check the current status. And what they do, I believe it's human operated. It's not computers, it's not AI. So humans look at input from various cameras around the bridge and
they just monitor.
Yeah, they monitor it and then they manually switch it. So first of all, that bridge sort of like, if it can be redesigned to 4 lanes, it should be. But second, maybe in the future, like these kinds of systems will be fully automated. AI will get smart enough to analyze these complex movement of traffic.
Interesting. That's exciting to think about how technology could reshape cities. So the idea of traffic lights that adapt in real time sounds like science fiction, but it's already happening in some places like Vancouver. The challenges will be making sure these technologies benefit everyone, not just those who can afford the latest gadgets. If you could redesign the transportation system of any city in the world, which one would you choose and why?
So I haven't been to like that many countries in the world. Just like the US, Canada, and South Korea. But I've noticed a lot of US cities are very car-centric, even now. And I think I would choose Los Angeles for a complete transportation redesign. It's very highway centric, and the urban development, like the city is kind of structured in that way, I guess. And it suffers heavily from congestion, pollution, and that urban sprawl. By, you know, I would have to like study the city layout and then look at the traffic patterns, right? Where are people traveling the most at this time of day from which region to which region, right? And if we do that with like comprehensive and multimodal transit options, right? I think multimodal is quite important. You don't want to rely on a single form of transport. Everything has its own benefits and downsides. Buses, you can reach quite remote areas with less cost. But if you rely on only buses, buses are prone to road conditions, right? And they can get delayed. Subways or trams, they're great, but they need their own track and construction and whatnot. So I think depending on like the volume of people moving from one place to another and the road layout, you can implement different solutions for different types of connections that you need. And it's not just about, vehicles, right? Emphasizing the friendliness for pedestrians as well. You could have plazas and pedestrian streets. And those kinds of improvements could significantly impact the residents' quality of life and also reduce the environmental impacts as well.
LA really is the perfect example of how car-centric cities can struggle. So it's such a vibrant place, but the traffic can make it feel so disconnected. So it'd be amazing to see what the city could become with better public transit and more walkable spaces. How can cities encourage people to use public transportation instead of personal cars?
Yeah, so cities can incentivize public transportation through affordability, convenience, and reliability. If you've seen horror stories on the New York City subway, people say it's filled with mice, it's really unsafe to go on, it's very, very dirty. So I think if you want to make more people use your public transportation system, you need to have certain incentives that you can show to the general public, right? Fare subsidies, seamless connections between transit modes. I think a city, was it Toronto, that their subway system wasn't very efficient because almost every line starts at their Union Station and then it kind of sprawls out like a spider web. And the problem is that it's really difficult to get from adjacent points. Because if you want to go by subway, you have to go all the way down to Union Station and go back up again. And I think the layout and the transferability, right? So how easily can you transfer between different modes of transit? That's a key factor in the appeal of public transportation systems. And you need to ultimately encourage people to shift from private vehicles, right? A lot of cities have transit passes, right? Like Vienna has its low-cost annual public transportation pass. So in Vancouver, we have the monthly pass, right? Depending on how far you want to travel, you can choose between some options. Apparently, Vienna has an annual pass. So I guess that's a really cool savings deal, I guess. Yeah.
So do you think the Vancouver monthly pass is a reasonable price?
I've done the calculations, and if you use public transport more than 14 days of the calendar month, then a monthly pass would be the better option for you. Especially if you're commuting long distances and frequently using the SkyTrain or the West Coast Express rail service, then definitely that could add to some savings. Especially if they allow contactless payments, right? They allow MasterCard, Visa, American Express, but those fees are much higher than when you use the local Compass card because they have transaction fees. So definitely get the transit pass in the city, especially if you're touring, right? Or cash prices are usually lower than, credit card. Yeah, but if I'm touring, if I'm visiting a city, I'm going to definitely research and buy a tourist pass, right? Some big cities have like these one-day tourist pass. Vancouver has the day pass. So those are great
There
solutions.
is only a 10 pass or 20 pass like that?
10-day pass?
A 10 times pass? Or you can use it only 10 times or whatever.
Oh.
No? I think I have seen it.
In Vancouver?
Yeah, in vending machine.
In Vancouver.
When I go to when I take the ferry
Yes.
from Waterfront Station,
The sea bus.
yeah, sea bus. Yeah, so I think I saw the maybe I know, maybe not, but
Yeah.
okay. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so some cities have like so many pass options to compare with. And actually, Vancouver is operated by this one transit company called TransLink, right? When I visited San Francisco, you had all these different bus companies that were operating. I saw, I don't remember the exact company name, but
So it's not compatible.
they have like slightly different fares, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe not, but like I just used my San Francisco Clipper card, and that covers everything. But the companies themselves were very different. I guess if you're operating for larger cities, and they do that in Seoul as well, they have different bus companies that all operate in the same city network. But in Vancouver, at least, it's all operated by TransLink. Yeah.
So public transport isn't just about the vehicles. It's about the whole experience. If it's affordable, clean, and reliable, people will naturally choose it.
Yeah.
So it's really about making public transport the easiest option rather than the last resort. So what is your opinion on the future of high-speed rail and its impact on urban development?
Yeah, so high-speed rail holds great promise for reshaping urban development by significantly reducing time between cities and promoting regional economic integration. So if you think about high-speed trains, you think, I think, two main categories. You have these Asian countries like Japan, South Korea, China. They have high-speed rails network all over the place. And also you think of Europe, Germany, which their high-speed train service is actually really infamous for their delays, I think. But they have like the Eurostar connecting multiple European countries. And France with the TGV actually was the first pioneer in the high-speed rail.
It's like our, what is that? KTX, right?
KTX, yeah. So the original design of the KTX was inspired by the French TGV.
Yeah.
So you have that, but one region that's prominently missing out on the high-speed rail network is North America.
Oh.
Yeah, so in Canada, they're basically non-existent. You have Via Rail, which is, if you want to get from like one city to another in Canada and they're sufficiently far enough, the first thing you think of is plane. That's probably the only, like if you want to get there in a reasonable amount of time, right? If you're not like touring on a train specifically, you want to go there by plane. And in the US, you originally have the Amtrak Acela line, so that's kind of Amtrak's high-speed network, I guess. I think it connects Boston, New York, all the way down to Washington, D.C., I believe.
Oh.
So that connects the East Coast. And that's...
Only three cities? Like Boston, New York, Washington,
Washington. Oh, no. So they have all these stops in between.
Okay.
So Amtrak's most famously popular line is the Northeast Corridor, which follows the same pattern as the Acela. The Acela is like the express version of the Northeast corridor, I guess. Yeah. Recently, they've been building a high-speed network in Florida called Brightline. Have you heard of them? So Florida's trying to make their own like high-speed rail network.
Okay.
I believe California is trying to do that as well, but like the funding, they've overrun costs already. They've only built like a couple hundred kilometers of track. And like, I don't know if that project's going to end up being a success or not because it's like so expensive, right?
So the other day I read an article about the plan from Elon Musk.
Oh, okay.
And we have a pipeline for the oil from Canada to U.S.
Yes.
So like that pipeline, the Elon said he's gonna make the road, the express road from west to east. He said he wanna build a tunnel.
The Boring Company.
Yeah, tunnel to you can just sit in your car, and then some kind of technology can send your car like a very high speed from west to east.
I just don't get why they won't build high-speed trains. Well, yeah, so Elon Musk has his company called the Boring Company.
Boring.
So like, well,
Yeah,
like
okay.
boring as in dig, right?
Yeah.
So he's been showing off this technology a couple of times now in the recent years. So basically, you drill a very narrow tunnel, just wide enough to fit a single car or like a couple lanes only. So your car goes on this like pad, and that pad is what accelerates you really fast through the tunnels. I just think
Is it feasible?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's like a monorail. Like
well,
monorail, magnet like.
like maglev?
Yeah.
I don't know the specific technology.
Okay.
But it's like your car goes on this platform, and then the platform itself moves your car. I don't know. A train, right? A train would have more capacity. It can carry hundreds of passengers, no problem. And I just think, like, for the feasible future, that would be a more sustainable and effective solution generally, right? I guess like compared to the United States and Canada, like European and Asian networks are usually like more condensed, right? It's not a huge amount of land that you have to cover. There's only like a couple key cities you need to visit. If you want to like really implement high-speed rail in the U.S., that would take a whole lot of planning. You have all these like local communities that should you reach them or should you not? You have to redesign tracks everywhere because if your train is hurtling down at like 300 kilometers per hour, it can't go through like sharp turns that easily, right? So existing rail networks might not be compatible. And for high-speed trains, most of them, I think every high-speed train that I saw were electrified. So you can't rely on like heavy diesel engines, I guess. And in America, there is not a whole lot of electrified track. So basically, you'd have to rip the entire rail system apart to do that. And I guess that's not really realistically feasible for the US to do right now. So maybe perhaps if like Elon Musk's like tunnel solution is cheaper, then maybe, yeah. But definitely if there were like new technologies and developments, a expansive, comprehensive rail system would definitely be a good idea.
So high-speed rail could completely change the way cities are connected. It's incredible how countries like Japan and France have used it to bring smaller city into the economic spotlights. If more countries invested in that kind of infrastructure, it could really reshape how we think about commuting and city life. So my last question for today's episode, what advice would you give to young people interested in pursuing a career in transportation design?
So myself.
Yeah, yeah, you and your other potential friends.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
My first thing would be to, look at like real life scenarios, right? You look at each city when you travel, keep an eye on like how their public transportation system works. Is it convenient? How can it be improved? And I think, for me, I think simulating that is a great idea. So I have this like game/simulation called Cities Skylines on my computer. So basically, it's a city building simulator. It's quite popular, I think, among the simulation tycoon kind of gaming community as well. People spend like years, I think, like months and years on building their city inside that simulator. So you start off with roads, you have to assign zoning, you have to build your public transportation systems. You can create bus lines, trams, ferry routes, and everything in between. So I think if you have like a vision or just like build a basic like city layout and then see how it goes, right? Is there any parts of the city that's heavily congested? How can you solve that? And how can you make the network like better for everyone? So analyzing current systems and trying to build and optimize your own system, I think that could be a really fun and exciting way to learn more about how these huge public transportation systems work. Yeah.
I'm just curious that the game that you made a city and the road and the transportation system, does it have any templates like examples?
Yeah. So well,
when you start the game,
so when you start the game, no,
there's none.
None. There's just a single highway connection is all you start off with. So what you choose is you choose the terrain and weather condition, and that's kind of it for the base game. And then you start off with like a single land tile, and then as you gain money, you can buy land tiles adjacently. You start off with a single highway connection, and that's it.
So do you need to get the wood and irons, like all the materials to build the roads and buildings?
Oh, okay. So
where do you get the resources in that game?
So it's a simulation, right? So I think as long as you have enough money, you can build roads. But if you want to, so it's more than just like transportation. It's a comprehensive city building experience, right? Okay. So you manage everything from like taxes to farming industries. So there's a lot of like expansion packs as well. So if you get started with like more like sophisticated industries, you need to specify, hey, this region is full of iron ores, so let me set up an iron mining factory here, and then I'll create these routes from the iron factory to this kind of processing center to make like iron bars, and then I'll use my cargo train terminal to export those goods and gain money. So it's a really
exports and then you get the money. Okay.
Yeah. So if you buy the industry's expansion pack. So it's a really, really comprehensive thing, and you can take control of everything from like the road and transportation to which buildings and which zones people live in. They have like a pedestrian expansion pack as well, so you can actually try to build pedestrian-only zones and see how that works out. So I think that would be a really, really good tool for like putting your ideas to like, simulation. Yeah.
So that's such a valuable advice. It is easy to think of transportation as just engineering, but understanding how people live and what they need is really heart of good design.
Yeah, absolutely.
The best cities are built by people who care not just about efficiency, but also about creating places where everyone feels connected. So that wraps up today's episode of Current Density with Jayden. We've explored the challenges and innovations in transportation design, the importance in urban planning, and Jayden's vision for a more connected and sustainable future. So Jayden, thank you for your sharing your insights with us. It's been a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really, really enjoyed our talk today.
So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us for more thought-provoking conversation. You can also share your thoughts on today's topic by reaching out to us on Spotify and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Current Dancing with Jayden. Until then, keep thinking forward and moving ahead.
Bye.
Bye.